All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is the WCA StarCraft Tournament's World Cyber Arena. It's a Chinese tournament, in case you guys could not tell. That's why we're broadcasting it over here on Shrink's channel. And so we're going to have two best of threes tonight. The first one, of course, will be Ayasanu versus Jim. I think Jim, probably one of the more popular Chinese StarCraft 2 players here in Legacy of the Void. And he's playing up against Ayasanu, who's I guess one of the better Zerg players. I don't think he's quite as well known as like guys like Tudming, but he's still pretty insane when it comes to top level Chinese StarCraft players.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Rapid, but my definition of popular is definitely that people are very disappointed about him. I mean, Jim was a really good player and a really promising player to be the best foreigner back in the days of Wings of Liberty and House of Swarm. But as time goes on, I think he has reached what we call a bottleneck, and
A
he's
plateau, yeah.
yeah, and his strategy seems to be known by everyone, and everybody knows how to counter it. So his achievements is not that.
Okay, well, we're about to see the maybe some of that plateau. First four Zerglings that Asanu sent over, just running up right to this pylon. Sure, probes are trying to attack, but they can only hit onto one Zergling, and that pylon goes down. Really big oversight by Jim not to have a zealot or anything else, just warped into that tiny little choke point, and the first four Zerglings unpower the gateways for just a brief second before that second pylon warps in, and those adepts can come in to try to defend things, but that's kind of a nightmare. The first four Zerglings are never supposed to do that. Like, this is a pretty good start for Ayasanu.
Uh, Indeed, and I think it's some sort of reflection of where they at now of their careers. But that aside, I think Jim went for greedy build, and he's not he's not punished as he would have if Isonu went all in or something. So I think Jim is still not that sad about the outcome of this exchange. That his Greece is still paying off. He can go for more defensive in the future, or he just went full grid and trying to cheese ISO down, which actually at this day and stage might be the best strategy that Jim can go for.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can go about that. You can say, hey, I got this teeny tiny little early advantage. Let's press that as hard as possible. But I don't think that's usually a very good way to go. So instead, it's probably a better idea to say, hey, this is not something, it's a tiny little win, take it, and then, head back, and you can see he's already macroing up to 3 bases, which I wouldn't say it's like super common. Sometimes Zerg players will stay on 2 and then put on like a lot of early pressure, given the way that these bases are cut off from each other. So it's kind of difficult to defend both bases at the same time, just because of the long distance between them. So sometimes you can put on pressure early, but just going ahead and starting up 3 bases, and there is actually a decent number of lings on the map, and of course, what's the counter to Phoenix? It's a unit that can't even hit them. Zerglings, you just send a bunch of them running around, there's no way Phoenixes have that much energy.
Well, that's definitely true, and I'd say that Isono is playing rather conservative. Maybe he's confident that he can beat Jim in uh, if the game really goes too deep. The only thing that he's afraid of is some cheesy play that Jim is very famous for. And as a teammate, I think he knew a lot just by practicing with him a lot. So definitely agree with the strategy that Sony is adapting there.
Right, and so what we're seeing here is a pretty standard Phoenix opening off 2 base. Third base already coming down for Jim as soon as Iosonu's fourth base is getting started up here. This is like the most standard of the standard games that I've seen. The only thing that I guess is not necessarily standard is I guess later Hydralisks. It's not really a mystery what build Jim is going here. You see Phoenixes, you expect tons of Phoenixes. Not really super inspired. The thing that is kind of questionable for me, like I said, these bases, or at least the main from the natural, are pretty separated from each other. And for Zerg players, that means that you really need to spread that creep between the bases, especially since it's not like it's a ZVZ. There's really no downside to spreading creep. It's just not as spread between these bases as it really should be.
Well, I mean, even in ZVZ, that spreading of creep actually give you a vision of the map, so that's definitely a good thing. Even though your opponents can benefit from your creep as well. So um, actually, the map is kind of surprising to me. Central Protocol is not a very good map for Protoss player. So I think in this tournament the maps are assigned to them. Otherwise, I don't know why Jimmy is picking on this map, because we are still playing on the old map pool. We are not updated to the new map pools, so we still got some of the map pools that some players really don't like. But if Jim picked it, or it's a map that remain to be banned, I'm really curious how Jim can win this, because this map is too wide for Protoss and too wide to for the third player to get a good flank on the map, and we are about to see the flank.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if there's enough to deal with this quite yet. There's no like disruptors out on the map. There's really no splash damage to speak of. All you're gonna have to have are really, really sick force fields. We've got tons of Zerglings and really great positioning here by Ayasanu to go up towards the top half of the map, and you can really see the army from Jim just having so many difficulties just trying to get up there. Look at all those Banelings just sitting towards the back, and he doesn't even really have to use them. All he has to do is pump Zerglings for a wall on the front, and all this DPS from Hydralisk is so big. And you can see trying to force field off these Banelings. Banelings actually not really doing all that much, but the army size is just not there. Probe's starting to go down, the base is going to fall, and even with some decent force fields to protect the army, there's just too much Zerg running in there. Really not a whole lot of harassment, and that's one of the most straightforward games I've ever seen, Shrink. We just saw Zerg macro and then send his army over and kill the Protoss player. Obviously, that's very simplistic, but that's pretty one-sided.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as I say, this map is really advantageous to Zerg, that you can get a good flank on others, and I sort of know something cheesy might be coming, so he defends well, and Jim knows probably that I sort of had prepared, so he was just given up like from 12 minutes on. I don't blame him. It can be ISO's pick as well, this map, so you can still go to the map that you pick and get a win and force a third match.
All right, well, yeah, like you said, it is a best of 3. There's only 2 of them tonight, so these games actually might go very quickly. Like, we could have, like 2 10-minute games, and, we're already on to the next series. So, definitely some craziness is possible. tonight. Of course, coming up after this series between Ayasonu and Jim, we're going to see Rush Crazy versus Shigua. So lots more Zerg action in case you guys are waiting on that to happen.
I mean, CVP action as well. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have many Terrans in China to begin with. We have some Terran players in this tournament. We have Chick, and I believe we have XY. But still, we are not. Oh, I think we have only Chick from Zenith's origin in this tournament, and he is already 0-4 in terms of map. So, April April 11th will be the last game for Terran to be in this tournament, and
Yeah, it's a little. It's a little sad to see the underrepresentation. I know it was pretty crazy with like drawing for like GSL groups. It was like literally the most even class distribution at the beginning of the season. So,
well, I mean, we always say that Korean Terran is the fourth race in StarCraft, so I don't know how that well represented in that way.
all right. Well, as is being pointed out by our observers, very very late pool here. Well, it's just gonna be standard pool or two base into pool. I think that was what. Yeah, that actually was pretty late on the pool. If you look at the timing, that was like what 17, 16, 17 pool. Um, Usually you see something you can go for early pools like 12 pool. But yeah, just get up two bases early, and this probe from Jim is going to get a full scout on everything, see exactly what's going on. He's going to know this pool timing, but it's going to be two base versus two base start. So maybe expect to see either an earlier expand, given the pretty protected expansion on this map.
Yeah, and I think the contrast is already there. That this map is much more prone to defensive tactics rather than last map that you have narrow entrances that it's not very easy to attack and very good for your force fields to work. And I really like IA's spawning pool there. I actually see a lot of the pro players, their spawning pool just get in the way of their gas, so their gas harvesting is not a straight line. So really heads up play by IA there, not affecting his own gas mining.
Yeah, and it's always really cool for me. Oh man, we're actually going to see a Ling drop started off here, right off to the outside of the base. Morphing that Overlord, gonna give it some drop stacks. I always thought it must be really, really weird to do drop on Overlord, just because you're just like putting sacks on your Overlord, filling up, and the Stalker will actually scout this. First Stalker won't be able to kill this Overlord at all, and dropping all these Lings in here, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to deal with. Now there is an Adept and a lot of probes being pulled here, so this should be able to be cleaned up, but it's certainly not going to be easy to defend, and already going to be a few probe kills here. Probably going to get 4 or 5 if he's lucky, but kind of slow at pulling the army over here. Just sending one Adept is not going to cut it. I know you need your Stalker to kill off the Overlords so the more stuff doesn't get ferried in here, but this is actually way more valuable. Cheech, what? What did we just see, Shrink?
We saw Jim basically get wrecked by a lane drop.
These games are fast and furious, man. Not the movies, just the action is kind of off the chain. I did not expect it to be this big or this fast. I'm like, okay, man. I guess that's kind of the way that the cookie crumbles, or in this case, the gym crumbles.
Well, I mean, that's what I said. I mean, Jimmy's not really not as good as he once was. I mean, I mean, all the gym fan guys over there. I mean, we have to come to the realization that, um, I mean, I mean, it's normal for you to get confused yourself. Like, how should I play? How should I change my play style? But it's really been a long time for Jim to play like this very um dispiriting game. It's very sad to see, but that's the reality facing him now.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Jim, with that loss, if I'm not mistaken, he was already at the bottom of his group, so he's going to be sticking down there once again as Aisanu takes him out. Aisanu's actually going to move up to contention with Tudming for top of Group A, and now I think we're just going to get a quick replay of this to see. Yeah, losing that early pylon early on just really, really devastating. You can see the second pylon that repowers the gateway in the cyber core was only halfway complete at that moment. And even with this pylon overcharged, Hydra DPS is just way too much. And turns out Immortals, they're pretty good, but not against that many Hydralisks. Those shields do not work out well. You turn them on, you're invincible, and you feel really cool about yourself, and then the shield drops, and you're like, oh. Yeah, my single target DPS against all that Zerg just does not work out. Force fields really lackluster initially in this fight. They turn out to be pretty good later on, but yeah, it just does not work out. The Zerg macro kicking into high gear. You can see just all those streams across the map. So team kill in that example, just because, you know, IA or Ayasanu not really inhibited all that much by really anything. He wins the first game off of, you know, killing a lucky pylon. Second game, just the best Ling drop I have seen in a very, very long time. And looks like we are going to take a quick break in between our series. We're going to watch some frozen penguins dying off here. It sucks to be a penguin, but you know what? We're going to take a quick break before we get back to more World Cyber Arena 2016 Spring. Second series coming up here in just a second will be Rush Crazy versus Shigua for some more ZVP action. So don't go anywhere, stick around, and we'll be right back with more World Cyber Arena coming in here in just a second. IT 处理器
专为游戏竞技定制，冠军战队专属选择，龙珠女子战队倾城代言，专业电竞显示器爱感爱攻，顶级战场等你来战。
T-Move.